Howdy, folks. I am Alan for today's news. I will be reading, speaking about world news, interesting news, news to keep you entertained, and news to keep you informed. And I got a lot of news here, all kinds of news. So I don't know how far I'll get on it. Anyway, what I got first is from Newsmax. DeSantis offers Florida workers to get cracking on wall.
Hailing his hurricane response and rebuilding destroyed bridges and roads, Florida GOP Governor Ron DeSantis vowed to bring his get-it-done workers from Florida to the southern border to help President Joe Biden build the wall his administration stopped work on. "I am willing to send my Florida folks who built those bridges. I'll send them to the southern border," DeSantis told a Sioux Center, Iowa, rally that aired live Saturday on Newsmax. "We'll get cracking on this wall, Joe, just let us know. Put us in. We'll get it done." DeSantis hailed his state's ability to respond to damage by Hurricane Ian, a monster storm. "It actually ripped out a bridge going from the mainland to Pine Island and it severed the causeway going to Sanibel Island in 3 different locations," DeSantis said. "And these were not state bridges. It was technically not our responsibility, but the locals were being told, it's going to be 6 months before we restore connectivity to you. And so they came to me there, Governor, we can't wait 6 months, and I'm like, I agree," DeSantis continued. "So I got my guys together. I said, listen, no bureaucracy, no red tape and no excuses. I want these bridges back up and running as soon as possible." We accepted the job. Pine Island Bridge didn't take 6 months. We restored it in 3 days, and the Sanibel Causeway was back 2 weeks later after. That's almost 5.5 months ahead of schedule.
And that's all I got on that one. I'll have the links to everything in my description box anyway. Let me go to the next one here. It's from Newsmax. DeSantis helps raise funds for man charged in subway death.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is helping raise money for U.S. Marine Corps veteran Daniel Penny, the man facing charges of second-degree manslaughter for putting a homeless man in a fatal chokehold on a subway. "We must defeat the Soros-funded DAs, stop the left's pro-criminal agenda, and take back the streets for law-abiding citizens," DeSantis said in a message on Twitter while sharing a fundraiser for Perry's defense. "We stand with good Samaritans like Daniel Penny. Let's show this Marine. America's got his back." Penny, 24, was arraigned in Manhattan criminal court on Friday, where he was charged in the death of Jordan Neely, a homeless man who both witnesses and prosecutors claim was making threats and scaring people before his death. Penny's attorneys say he acted to protect himself and his fellow subway passengers after Neely threatened them. The fundraiser, being conducted through a GiveSendGo page, was set up by Penny's law firm, Razor and Kenneth. As of Saturday afternoon, the effort had raised more than $1 million. Funds are being raised to pay Mr. Penny's legal fees incurred from any criminal charges filed and any future civil lawsuits that may arise, as well as expenses related to his defense, the fundraiser's description says. "All contributions are greatly appreciated. Any proceeds collected which exceed those necessary to cover Mr. Penny's legal defense will be donated to a mental health advocacy program in New York City."
Okay, I'm gonna stop it there. You can read the rest of that in my description box. I know everybody have different thoughts on this, and they said he was slow in the head. And the thing about it, this guy didn't know if he was going to have a weapon or not. There's a lot of kids now, in these big cities, go around shooting people, at night. So, and the other one I read to you also about the wall. Well, Joe don't want that wall up. Joe Biden was the one who stopped the wall. So DeSantis need to rethink that. Anyway, let me go my next one. This from Newsmax here. Mark Morgan to Newsmax. Borders sustain hurricane, now a tsunami.
Democrats and President Joe Biden did not want to spend to build the wall and close the border, and now they are paying for all of it in spades, according to former acting U.S. Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Mark Morgan on Newsmax. "This is just one reason of 100 why DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas should be impeached," Morgan told Saturday Report. "This man from day one, he's viewed the law as a mere advisory opinion. He has rewritten the law. He's abused his authority. He has abdicated his responsibility and oath as the Secretary of Homeland Security. His priorities are all messed up. Our priorities are all out of whack, Morgan continued to host Rita Cosby. This is all about what's in the best interests of migrants from 171 countries, rather than what's in the best interest first of American citizens and the safety and security of our border. It's backwards, Rita. Morgan lamented Democrats and their complicit allies in the media have blamed conservative criticism for inflating the mass border migration into a crisis under Biden, but are even attempting to blame former President Donald Trump for the failures. I can tell you for those listening and watching you right now that the inhumanity that I saw this past week is real, he said. The death, the destruction, the risk to our nation's safety and security is real. And this was predictable. This was preventable, and it was 100% due to this administration's open border policies. This is unsustainable. I saw a border patrol that was overwhelmed. They're not on the front lines. They're relegated back to facilities doing nothing but processing and releasing illegal aliens in the United States, and they wonder why the crisis is just getting worse. The anticipation of the end of Trump's use of Title 42 expulsions under the COVID-19 pandemic is not the cause of the crisis, Morgan stressed. We've already been there, he said. There's been a lot of talk leading up to the end of Title 42 like that was going to become the crisis. That's just not true. We've already been in the middle of the worst self-inflicted unmitigated border security crisis the past 26 months, and the end of the Title 42 on Thursday basically just turned a sustained hurricane into a tsunami, 10,000 the last 3 or 4 days. The Department of Homeland Security under Secretary Mayorkas has failed America and lied about his culpability in the security of the border, Morgan continued.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. You can read the rest of that. Link will be in my description box. And I know Mayorkas, what I'm going to call him, the Secretary of Homeland Security, he's been lying on the news. I've been watching him on the news. He said that, it's not as bad as everybody thought it was. And it's, and his number was a lot lower than 10,000. So it's propaganda from the White House. Don't believe Homeland Security or the White House or Joe Biden. It's Joe Biden fought, not Trump fought about the wall. Propaganda. It's all propaganda. Let me go to the next one. This is from Newsmax. Rep. Burlison to Newsmax. Biden family set up complex network to get foreign money.
House Oversight Committee member Representative Eric Burlison, Republican Missouri, told Newsmax Saturday that President Joe Biden and his family set up a complex number of shell companies to receive money from foreign entities while he was former President Barack Obama's vice president. It was made to be complex in order to try to hide money, Burlison said during Saturday Report. This family created dozens and dozens of LLCs. They created all of these while Joe Biden was the vice president, so this didn't happen when he was out of office, but while he was vice president. He said that Hunter Biden was working in the background creating the shell companies while his father, Vice President Joe Biden, was traveling the world giving out foreign aid. Then money just happened to flow from foreign entities, from foreign oligarchs, into Biden associates' accounts, he said. 1/3 of that money would funnel into Biden family members' accounts. In one case, Hunter himself got a check directly from a Chinese entity while his father was vice president. During a press conference earlier this week, Committee Chairman Representative James Comer, Republican Kentucky, said the financial paper trail of the Biden family shows that then-candidate Biden lied in 2020 about getting foreign money, and he is continuing to lie about the issue while president. President Biden has claimed since the 2020 election that his family has not received money from China, Comer said during the press conference. That was a lie in 2020, and he continues to lie to the American people now. Burlison questioned where the media is on the case, while going all out to investigate issues relating to former Republican President Donald Trump, yet not apparently interested in the revelations about Democrat President Biden. Many of the media didn't show up at Comer's press conference, and for the big corporate media that did, they kind of yawned and said, "So what?" he said. Which is just appalling that we're at this place in American history. Burlison said the reason the media doesn't seem interested about potential corruption by Biden and his family is because they are happy that the Democrat is in office. Think about Watergate, he said. The press broke Watergate, but now in order to uncover corruption on the Democratic side, we have to force it into the American people's hands.
Okay, that's all I got on that one there. Link will still be in my description box. And let's go to the next one here now. This is from an email I got. Link will be in the description box. I got it online too. The banking failures were planned.
It all started with Silicon Valley Bank, SVB. Soon after, Signature Bank went under. And then, First Republic. These three banks wiped out almost $500 billion in deposits. And if that figure doesn't quite resonate, let me put it in perspective. In a matter of months, a few regional banks lost more than the entire banking industry did in 2008. Source, observablehq.com. And we aren't even out of the woods yet. In fact, new research shows there are 2,000 plus banks that could soon fail. But for all the danger this situation presents, this letter isn't about the banking crisis or what it means for our financial system. It's about the extraordinary investment opportunity it brings. But to seize it, we have to think 2 steps ahead. The core of the banking crisis. Before diving into the opportunity, let's take a moment to break down what's happening. Technically, all 3 banks fell due to a textbook bank run. For example, SVB clients tried to take out nearly $142 billion in just 2 days, a whopping 81% of the bank's deposits. SVB obviously couldn't fulfill those requests and, as such, was seized by regulators. That shouldn't come as much of a shocker. Any bank would break if most of its depositors asked for their money all at once. The same goes for Signature Bank and First Republic. But those bank runs weren't so much an illness as they were a symptom of a larger problem. You see, the 3 banks in question had one thing in common that made their clients nervous. They were overleveraged on long-term debt as both creditors and debtors. For example, SVB invested most of its deposits in long-term treasuries and mortgage-backed securities under the assumption of persistent low interest rates. As a result, they neglected to establish sufficient hedges for those investments. The situation took an unexpected turn when the Federal Reserve abruptly reversed its stance and initiated the fastest rate hikes not seen in 50 years. In turn, the market value of that long-term debt, which backed the lion's share of SVB depositors, crashed. First Republic, on the other hand, had borrowed so much that in the first quarter of 2023, interest expenses surged 20–40% year-over-year and 153% from the previous quarter. It all started with Silicon Valley Bank, SVB.
Okay, this thing started reading the wrong place. There's more to read on if you want to read the rest of it. I'm going to go to my next one now. This from Raw Story. We can't track down the informant, James Comer says he lost top witness in Biden investigation.
Representative James Comer, Republican Kentucky, revealed on Sunday that Republicans had lost track of a top witness in the investigation of President Joe Biden and his family. During an interview on Fox News, host Maria Bartiromo asked Comer about evidence he had of Biden's alleged corruption. "You have spoken with whistleblowers," she noted. "You also spoke with an informant who gave you all of this information. Where is that informant today? Where are these whistleblowers?" "Well, unfortunately, we can't track down the informant," Comer replied. "We're hopeful that the informant is still there. The whistleblower knows the informant. The whistleblower is very credible." "Hold on a second, Congressman," Bartiromo said. "Did you just say that the whistleblower or the informant is now missing?" "Well, we were hopeful that we can find the informant," Comer said, explaining the informant was in the spy business and they don't make a habit of being seen a lot. "The 9 of the 10 people that we've identified that have very good knowledge with respect to the Bidens," he added, "they're one of 3 things, Maria, they're either currently in court, they're currently in jail, or they're currently missing."
Okay, and that's all I got on that one here. Let's go next one here. This is from Buzz Loving. We just found a scammer device on the scanner. Walmart shopper warns people of having their credit card information stolen while making purchases at checkout.
Scammers have their own methods, going above and beyond to deceive people. One of the most common ways is credit card theft through card skimming, which has recently come to light due to a viral TikTok video filmed inside a Walmart. The alarming frequency of credit card information theft through skimming is a cause for concern. According to the FBI, this is due to the illegal installation of skimming devices on ATMs, point-of-sale, POS, terminals, or fuel pumps, which enables the capture of cardholder information, including their PINs. This crime can take on several forms in practice. Thieves may install a tiny, hidden card reader in front of the normal one, letting customers complete their transaction as usual, unaware that their information has been stolen as a result of this transaction. Another group of thieves takes a more sophisticated approach by getting custom-made replicas of card readers, which they place over the existing ones to capture the customer's information. The video posted by TikTok user Tori, at Abundance Tori, highlighted this type of card skimming, featuring the use of custom-made replicas of card readers in a Walmart store located in Houston, Texas. Tori writes in the caption, "This is a public service announcement. At Walmart, come check on y'all's people. My credit card info was almost stolen and I wouldn't have known or had any clue how or why." In the now viral video, with over 990K views, the OP states that she discovered the device while she was making her purchase. "You guys please be careful when swiping your credit card at any Walmart," she warns, with a text overlay. "We just found a scammer device on the scanner," Tori adds.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. We're going to go straight down to the video. Right here.
You guys please be careful when swiping your credit cards at any Walmart.
We just found a scammer device on the scanner. But are we safe to scan?
Yeah, give me the card.
Here you go. You scan on your side.
No, you gotta run that camera up. Okay.
This is a public service announcement.
She said, "You scan on your side." Anyway, I always try to check. I don't do it all the time, but most of the time, I'll start pulling on the device and see if it comes apart. Let me go to the next one here. This is from the Telegraph. Grenades and anti-tank rocket launchers among 13,500 weapons surrendered by Serbians.
Serbians have turned in around 13,500 weapons to the authorities after 2 mass shootings rocked the country. Among the weapons which have been turned in are hand grenades, automatic weapons, and anti-tank rocket launchers. Police declared a 1-month amnesty period for Serbs to hand over unregistered weapons or face prison sentences as part of a crackdown on guns following the 2 mass shootings that left 17 people dead, many of them children. Populist President Aleksandar Vučić accompanied top police officials on Sunday for the weapons display near the town of Smederevo, some 30 miles south of the capital, Belgrade. Mr. Vučić said around half of the weapons collected were illegal while the other half were registered weapons that citizens nonetheless handed over. The weapons will now go to Serbia's arms and ammunition factories for potential use by the armed forces. After June 8, the state will respond with repressive measures and punishments will be very strict, he said of the post-amnesty period. What does anyone need an automatic weapon for? Or all these guns?
Okay, and there's more to read on that if you want to read the rest of it. There's some of the weapons there. I'm going to go with my next one here. This from Fox News. Judge blocks Biden administration request to stay order blocking release of migrants into U.S. without court due.
A federal judge has denied the Biden administration's request to place a stay on a temporary restraining order blocking the release of migrants into the U.S. without court dates. U.S. District Court Judge T. Kent Wetherell II denied the Biden administration request in a filing Saturday, calling its request for an emergency stay of a ruling blocking it from releasing migrants without a court date after the expiration of Title 42 borderline frivolous. DHS's Chicken Little arguments about the impact of it not being able to, use parole under either policy as a processing tool for the surge of aliens arriving at the border are hard to square with the DHS Secretary's recent comments that only a fraction of the people that we encounter would be paroled into the country and that the vast majority will be addressed in our Border Patrol facilities and our IC detention facilities, Wetherell, who was appointed by former President Trump, wrote. Wetherell blocked the administration's parole with conditions policy Thursday in response to a lawsuit from the state of Florida. The order came as migrants surged to the U.S. border as the Title 42 public health order, which allowed for the quick removal of migrants due to the COVID-19 pandemic, expired.
Okay, and there's more to read on if you want to read the rest of it. Let's go to the next one here. It's from Fox News. 6 Russian aircraft intercepted near Alaska airspace during U.S. military training exercises, says NORAD.
The North American Aerospace Defense Command released a statement Saturday saying it had intercepted 6 Russian aircraft operating off the coast of Alaska. In a press release about Thursday's incident, NORAD said it detected, tracked, positively identified and intercepted 6 Russian aircraft operating in and near the Alaska Air Defense Identification Zone, ADIZ. Ukraine makes gains in Bakhmut amid talks of spring offensive, Wagner tantrum continues. Russian aircraft remained in international airspace and did not enter American or Canadian sovereign airspace, the statement added. These flights occurred as several planned large-scale U.S. military training exercises are ongoing in Alaska. The Russian aircraft, according to the press release, were Tu-95 bombers and Il-78 tanker and Su-35 fighter aircraft. Ukraine invasion proving very, very difficult, Kremlin SPOX says in rare admission. The Russian aircraft were intercepted by F-16s, F-22s, KC-135 Stratotankers and E-3 AWACS. The press release explained that Russian activity like this occurs regularly and is not seen as a threat. NORAD estimates an average of 6 to 7 Russian aircraft incursions occur each year in the ADIZ.
Okay, I guess that's not too much of a news. Let's go to the next one here. This from MoneyWise. Unwarranted and unfair. The IRS is watching how much you make selling any items online this year. How even casual sellers could get dinged by the new tax rules.
Disclaimer: we adhere to strict standards of editorial integrity to help you make decisions with confidence. All links marked with an asterisk, are paid links. A battle has been brewing between e-commerce giants and the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, and once again, millions of Americans are stuck in the middle. Online shopping giants like Etsy, eBay, and StubHub, and the third-party payment networks they use, including PayPal, Square, and Cash App, have called on Congress to give relief to millions of online sellers by raising the income reporting threshold on IRS Form 1099-K. Don't miss. Rich young Americans have lost confidence in the stock market and are betting on these 3 assets instead. Get in now for strong long-term tailwinds. Here's how much money the average middle-class American household makes. How do you stack up? The American Rescue Plan of 2021 lowered the 1099-K reporting threshold from $20,000 over 200 transactions to just $600 from any number of transactions, effective January 1st. Nearly 40% of Americans sold items online early in the pandemic, netting about $1,800 on average, according to a Money Magnify survey. For those who continue to sell goods on sites like Poshmark, Facebook Marketplace, or Etsy to make some extra cash, here's what you need to know about the new tax rules. What is the new rule? The American Rescue Plan of 2021 requires third-party settlement organizations and credit card companies, including payment apps, to report payments for goods and services if they exceed $600 per year. What that means is if you sell handmade jewelry, art, or home decor on Etsy and your transactions total $600 or more in 2023, Etsy will send you a 1099-K form that you should use to report your income to the IRS. The same rule applies if you sell any personal items online like a car, refrigerator, furniture, stereo, or even clothes, and your transactions for the year add up to $600 or more. And keep in mind that if you sell personal items for more than what you originally paid, that's what's known as a capital gain, and you'll face taxes on it. You should report this income on IRS Form 8949, Schedule D, and pay your 1099-K if you meet the IRS's threshold. However, if you make a loss on the sale of a personal item, like say you bought a coat for $300 and later sold it on Poshmark for $200, that loss isn't deductible. If you receive a 1099-K for loss-making transactions, the IRS says you should make offsetting entries on Form 1040. S&P 500. 4,124.08. IRS receives backlash. The Coalition for 1099-K Fairness, a group of online marketplaces opposing the new rule, believes the new $600 rule is unfair, burdensome, and confusing for the many casual sellers and gig economy workers across the country. Millions of Americans have sold an item online, and many of these sellers use those funds for critical needs such as food, medicine, and bills and are not running a business, the coalition argues. The $600 rule was originally planned for introduction on January 1, 2022, but the IRS announced an 11th-hour delay, pushing implementation back by 1 year to help smooth the transition and ensure clarity for taxpayers, tax professionals, and industry. This came after certain politicians and groups like the Coalition for 1099-K Fairness called for the rule change to be scrapped and for common-sense tax regulations to govern the resale market. Read more. Hold on to your money. Jeff Bezos says you might want to rethink buying a new. In January, Representative Carol Miller reintroduced the Saving Gig Economy Taxpayers Act with the initial support of 13 Republican colleagues to reverse the unwarranted and unfair lowering of the 1099-K reporting threshold. As of mid-May, 41 Republican co-sponsors had signed their support of the bill. An American getting rid of old exercise equipment from his garage online now qualifies as a salesman of workout equipment. A teenager babysitting the neighbor's kids is in the childcare business, and roommates who split rent are now property managers, and are all eligible to be taxed by the IRS, she said when introducing her counter-legislation. The Saving Gig Economy Taxpayers Act will protect Americans who use online payment platforms, gig economy workers and small e-commerce sellers from being taken advantage of and will ensure they continue to have access to reliable income streams. Tax prep tips. The 1099-K tax law change has ticked off online sellers, to the point that 69% of people surveyed who sold goods online in 2021 said the new rule would deter them from doing so, according to the Coalition's 2022 survey of online sellers. If you sell your ticket on Ticketmaster now, you'll receive a 1099-K form if the amount is over $600, which is bull. I pay taxes when I buy the damn ticket and now I have to pay taxes when I sell the ticket, one Twitter user vented in a series of tweets. This $600 rule shouldn't stop you from earning a little extra cash by selling items online, as long as you keep records of all your transactions, including original receipts and how much you sold your items for.
Yeah, the IRS is it's like thieving. They're like thieves. They're robbing you. The IRS, I need to be disbanded. That's what I think. Anyway, let's go to the next one here. This one here is from, get to it, as USA. Which states would suffer most if the U.S. defaults on its debt ceiling?
The Biden government and Congress continue to be at an impasse regarding lifting the debt ceiling, and unless the situation is resolved, the U.S. could default on its debt as early as June 1st, which would spell disaster for the economy. Economists have been making predictions about how a default or even a breach of the ceiling could affect the country. If the U.S. ends up with a full-fledged default, it will have an impact on people who receive government funding, including those who are sent food aid and Social Security payments. Which states would suffer most if the U.S. breaches its debt ceiling? Most of the country would be affected by a breach of the debt ceiling, but the economic damage would be felt differently across states, according to projections released by Moody's Analytics last week. It would be felt most severely by states where there are significant numbers of government workers, including the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., where 1 out of 4 workers are employed in government jobs. A breach would also affect states with facilities that are dependent on public funds like Alaska, Hawaii, and New Mexico, where there are national laboratories or military installations. Other areas that rely on government spending in aerospace such as Northern Virginia, Connecticut, Kansas, and Washington are also vulnerable. Moody's also projects that the states of Florida, Ohio, and Pennsylvania would in all likelihood each lose hundreds of thousands of jobs if the breach is to last for a few months. Breach versus default. According to CNN, Moody's Analytics chief economist Mark Zandi explains that a breach is not the same as a default. Zandi says a breach would take place if the Treasury Department is unable to make a payment to any creditor on time, such as Social Security checks or electric bills for government buildings, per CNN. A default, on the other hand, would mean that the Treasury was unable to make a debt payment by the deadline.
Okay, and that's all I got on that one there. I'm going to move to the next one here. This from 1945. Does Russia really want Alaska back?
Russia might make occasional noise about Alaska, but the Arctic is what Putin really wants. Alaska Dream, Arctic Reality. The Russians are well known for their hyperbole. They will always overstate the effectiveness of their military equipment. Their rulers will routinely exaggerate the support they receive from their citizens and around the world. So when a member of Russia's parliament, complaining about U.S. seizures of assets from Russian companies, suggests that Russia take back Alaska, it is pretty easy to laugh it off. Back in July of last year, Vyacheslav Volodin, a Putin ally and Speaker of the Duma, the Russian parliament's lower house, said, "Let America always remember, there is a part of its territory that is Russia, Alaska." Volodin continued, "When they attempt to appropriate our assets abroad, they should be aware that we also have something to claim back." Another Russian lawmaker, Pyotr Tolstoy, at the time suggested that a referendum be held in Alaska. An Alaskan distraction, think Arctic. The United States purchased Alaska from Russia in 1867 for a paltry $7.2 million. Once gold was discovered in 1896, the population swelled. Alaska became a state in 1959. Volodin's ridiculous idea got further play when back last July, NGS-24, a government-run television agency in the Siberian city of Krasnoyarsk, posted images of signs that read, "Alaska is ours." The agency claimed that the government did not place many of the placards, they were the work of patriotic citizens. It will be interesting to see whether Russian President Vladimir Putin does an about-face on the subject. When conducting an annual question-and-answer meeting with Russian citizens in 2014, Putin was asked about taking back Alaska. One citizen told Putin it is something Russians would be very happy to see. "Why do you need Alaska?" Putin responded. "By the way, Alaska was sold sometime in the 19th century. Louisiana was sold to the United States by the French at about the same time. Thousands of square kilometers were sold for $7.2 million, although in gold."
Okay, and you can read the rest of that in my description box. I'll go to the next one here. This is from Fox News. CEO of grocery chain sounds alarm over the dumb things U.S. government is doing.
The CEO of New York City grocery store chain Christedes is sounding the alarm over all the dumb things the government is doing as inflation persists. When Fox Business host Maria Bartiromo asked John Catsimatidis when Americans will see a break at the supermarket, he said, "When the food executives feel confident that Washington is not doing dumb things. When they feel that their earnings are going to survive," he continued. April inflation. His comments came on the heels of inflation jumping 0.4% in April as prices remain stubbornly high. The Labor Department said Wednesday that the Consumer Price Index, a broad measure of the price for everyday goods including gasoline, groceries and rents, climbed 4.9% on an annual basis, slightly below the 5% increase forecast by Refinitiv economists. "Right now everybody's panicked," Catsimatidis stressed. "The bank executives are panicked and food executives are panicked. Everybody's panicked and say, what's the next shoe that's going to fall? Let's take a pause and let's see how things sort themselves out."
Okay, there's more to read on that if you want to read the rest of it. I got more to go here. This from Metro. Ukraine fires UK missile at city held by Russians.
Long-range missiles supplied by the UK were used in a devastating strike on a city held by Russian forces in Ukraine, it's been claimed. Two industrial sites in the Russian-held city of Luhansk were blitzed by Ukrainian aircraft on Friday. Russia's defense ministry said the weapons used in the attack were Britain's Storm Shadow cruise missiles. A meat processing factory and chemical plant were completely destroyed in the shelling around 60 miles behind Russian lines in eastern Ukraine. The Russian ministry said, Storm Shadow air-to-air missiles supplied to the Kiev regime by Britain were used for the strike, contrary to London's statements that these weapons would not be used against civilian targets.
Okay, let's see. Here's more to read. We'll read the rest of it. I'm going to go to my next one now. This from News Nation. Is it illegal to collect rainwater in your state? I know a house I had before. I had a tank that collects, or a tank on the ground that collects rainwater. Not a septic. I forget what you call it now. Anyway.
It may seem like the most natural thing to do, even a great use of rainwater, collecting it. But did you know it could be illegal to do it in your state? While collecting rainwater is not federally illegal, many states have restrictions in place, and water laws are primarily handled on the state level. Alternatively, some states even offer incentives for those who collect rainwater. Can folded dollar bills found on the ground be deadly? Where are there rainwater collection restrictions? States that have some level of rainwater collection restrictions include Arkansas, California, Colorado, Georgia, Illinois, Nevada, North Carolina, Ohio, Oregon, Rhode Island, Texas, Utah, Virginia, Washington, and Wisconsin. Kansas and North Dakota may require a permit to harvest rainwater. In all states not listed above, it is legal to collect rainwater. The World Water Reserve published a full state-by-state guide to explain which states are and aren't allowed to harvest rainwater. The U.S. Department of Energy also has an interactive rainwater harvesting regulations map to help residents figure out if it's okay to fill up a barrel or a bucket. Beware of scammers posing as Habitat for Humanity employees at your door. Why do some states restrict water collection? Since water availability varies greatly throughout the U.S., each state needs to adjust its water use practices based on its climate. According to WWR, most states follow the reasonable use doctrine to determine restricts. The doctrine states that anyone who has a right to the water can reasonably use it for their own benefit as long as it doesn't restrict the rights of others to use it as well. The main reason some states restrict collection is that too much rainwater harvesting can disrupt the cycle of rainfall seeping back into the earth. It is recommended to check your state's laws regarding water use for further details.
Oh, that sounds like some Democratic crap. All right. And you got to read on about this, incentives, and why I collect rainwater. I collect the rainwater to water my yard and garden, so I don't, because I ran off a well pump, and I don't want to use all my well water. But anyway, like it says down here, where was it? Anyway. Yeah, it says right here, Kansas and North Dakota may require a permit to harvest water. They just want to make money off of you is what they want to do. You know, it's all about making money. Let me go to the next one. This from Ukrainska Pravda. Ternopil Oblast, I know I'm not saying it right, attacked twice overnight. Cruise missiles hits reported. Oblast Military Administration.
Volodymyr Trush, head of the Ternopil Oblast Military Administration, reported a second Russian attack on the oblast during the night of May 14th. Source: quote from Trush, during the second air raid warning, the enemy again attacked civilian objects in Ternopil Oblast. At 5 o'clock, a cruise missile strike was recorded. Specialists arrived at the scene and recorded the destruction of 2 and damage to 12 dacha houses. A dacha is a sort of a summer house, usually with a little plot of land where people grow vegetables, fruit trees and berries, or keep a garden. Edition. Details: according to Trush, missile fragments damaged civilian commercial and business facilities and 9 trucks. There were no casualties. Background: during an air raid warning in Ternopil on Saturday evening, May 13th, explosions were heard and a non-residential building caught fire. 2 people were injured in the attack.
Okay, and that's all I got on that one there. Let me go to my last one here. I thought it was going to take an hour, but it's not. This from Ukrainska Pravda. On Sunday, Ukrainian Defense Forces captured more than 10 Russian positions near Bakhmut.
On Sunday, the defense forces captured more than 10 Russian positions in the north and south of the outskirts of Bakhmut. They cleared a large area of the forest massif in the Ivanivsk district, capturing the occupiers. Source: Deputy Minister of Defense Hanna Maliar on Telegram. Quote, "We continue to move forward in the suburbs on the Bakhmut front. Today, our units captured more than 10 enemy positions in the north and south of the outskirts of Bakhmut and cleared a large area of the forest massif in the Ivanivsk district. Enemy soldiers from different parts were captured." Details: Maliar says it is very hot in Bakhmut. The invaders have gathered all their forces there and are trying to advance, destroying everything in their path. Fierce battles are continuing, she wrote.
Okay, and that's all I got on that one there. And just so you know that I've been playing music in between these blank spaces of sound, so you know that the news is not over yet. And I hope that's okay. And remember, I am Alan for today's news. I will be reading, speaking about world news, interesting news to keep you entertained, and news to keep you informed. And I thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, at least come back once in a while. And until next time, see you later.